just okay. I just didn't know.
I'm trying to change it up.
Okay, good.
Welcome to Always Open, everyone. On today's show, we're going to be talking about eating disorders, body dysmorphia, mental health, and other things of that nature. On today's show, you got me, Barbara Dunkelman, as well as
John.
And Kati Morton.
Yay, she's back!
Yay.
And it's me. We're a friendly neighborhood mess. I'm just messy today.
You're a mess today?
I'm a mess today. Actually, you know what? Today I kind of got it together.
You look good.
You seem like you have it together.
Today.
Yeah.
Today
That's
I
a
do.
good declaration.
Yeah. You know what? Today I have it somewhat.
You got your shirt.
I got
all
my
rolled
shirt
up.
on.
You got
Yeah.
your lipstick.
Uh-huh. Unfortunately, I got that on too. Texas literally chased me down like he does every week. You got your lipstick on?
Your reaction was the most honest thing I've ever seen a human do in my entire life.
I'm not excited about it.
Every week, Meryl tries to see how long she could go, or like how close to the show we could get to before.
Oh, is that what she was doing right before?
Yeah.
He
She
always drags me in there.
Doesn't
every
like
time.
lipstick, and Texas always finds her because he knows.
He's always like, something's missing on that face. I'm like, no, there's not.
What do you mean? Texas doesn't talk like that.
I know, right? Sounds nothing like him.
It's like when you're trying to feed a kid something that they don't want,
Yeah.
and they're like,
And you're like, it's peaches.
Basically.
And they're like, you lie.
No.
well, welcome back, Katie!
Yay, Katie!
Yeah.
It's been
A long time.
Like a
been a while.
year and
Over
a half.
year,
Was last time Blaine was on with
Blaine.
Yeah.
you? Yeah.
Yeah. That
And
was,
you broke Blaine and he hasn't recuperated since?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I believe that was season 1 or season 2.
I think it was season 2.
Season 2.
Yes.
Yeah, it was like one of the early episodes.
Yeah, we were just talking about this, and I was like, I don't remember, but it was like a end of January,
something like that.
not this last January, but January before.
Yep.
Well, we're
Well,
so happy to
welcome
have you
back.
back. Yes, everyone has been loving your appearance on the show and wanting you to come back forever, and we finally made it happen. And John, you're here
Yay.
too.
And I'm here too. It's okay. You don't have to lie.
We didn't have to try hard to get John. I sent him a message and I said, will you do this? And he said, yes.
A cheers
Yeah.
to coming
Perfect.
back.
Oh, yeah.
Glad we're all
Cheers.
back.
Huzzah.
Cheers.
Mazel tov.
So before we get into our questions, we did open up a forum for questions from people, the audience, to submit questions about mental health or anything of that nature. And before we get to that, we're gonna just start off with a little game. Just to get us
Ooh.
going.
Ooh, a game.
So this is called In One Word, and what we do is we give you guys each a prompt,
Gotcha.
and you have to just answer it in one word, and then we could discuss and basically talk about why we're all crazy.
And judge each other.
Perfect.
Exactly.
This is
Alright.
a judging show, right?
Yeah, pretty
Okay.
much. Some of them are a lot easier than you think they're going to be.
'Kay.
Like this first one, which the prompt is texting or talking,
You just want, how I respond? One word?
just in one word.
Talking.
You said talking, you said texting. I'm going to cheat and
Oh.
I'll say both.
Ooh.
I would say talking if I had to answer it that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are hard though.
But talking resolves things a lot better.
Yes.
Well, for me, when it comes to like, if I'm trying to find out information and I'm texting someone, it's just so much easier for me to just dial the number and like ask a question really quickly than like wait for a text message. So usually I get pretty impatient and I just call someone.
Anybody have a friend who just like FaceTimes you?
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
like so shocking.
You guys have that?
Yes.
No, I don't.
I do.
But I see that.
I do.
Who does that to
My
you?
friend Allie, she'll just out of the blue, like I'll just be hanging out, like sans makeup in my pajamas on a Sunday, and she'll just FaceTime me. She's
feel
like,
like that's
"What's
something
up? I was
you-
wondering what you're up to."
I'm gonna start doing that to you.
That's who I am. I
too
do that to
much.
my friends.
You
I just want
do?
to see their faces.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not friends.
I feel like
forever
it's
'cause I'm
something
not
you need
calling
to I was about to comment on that, but I decided to breeze over it. I feel like that's something you got to prepare for though.
I think you need to know you're gonna FaceTime. I don't know.
I totally,
mentally.
I get it, but I see the craziest thing I see people walking down the street who are having a FaceTime call
Yeah.
without headphones in, and they're just having a FaceTime
Yep.
call.
Well, maybe
with
their friend Allie just called them randomly
guess.
wants to FaceTime.
Exactly.
I guess like Jonathan Van Ness of Queer Eye, he does that to all of them.
Yep.
He
Oh,
just
funny.
that's the only way he communicates is like
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
FaceTime.
FaceTime.
Yeah.
The only people I FaceTime are my family because they live in Canada, and Trevor whenever we're not spending the night together, so we could just see each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every night.
Same
You do
thing.
that like even if you're both in the same place.
Like in the same house.
Yeah, I
No, no,
FaceTime
no, like-
Sean one side of the bed to the other side.
Oh, like both in Austin.
Like you're both in Austin.
Yeah.
No.
Still
So
FaceTime.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're
that's-
so
I'm so glad you said it because I
cute.
wanted to say it, but I didn't know it was okay if I said that because that is so gay.
Yeah,
I love it.
we love each other.
It's so sweet.
Nickname your parents used to call you.
Oh, Stomper.
What?
That was quick.
That was very quick.
Also,
They still
what,
call me that.
That's really cute.
what is that?
What did
It's
you
because I
stomp?
stomp when I was angry. Like,
Oh.
I don't want to.
That's
Yep.
really cute.
My
Stomper.
parents call me Barbie. They still call me Barbie.
See, it doesn't go away. When you go home, it's like you're
Yeah.
instantly like 10 years old again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Although it's funny when you say you used to get mad and stomp. When I used to get mad, I used to do
Scrunch
this
up.
all the time, and so my parents used to call me Triangle Nose.
Because it won't.
Doesn't roll off the tongue
You
as
gotta
well.
face that way. You gotta face the camera and
Yeah,
do
so
it.
they can see it.
There you go.
It's pretty good.
That's
Yeah.
kinda good.
Very
Just crunch my face up. to
Olsen twins Full House.
Yeah. Yeah.
some-
It is. It's totally Olsen Twins Full House.
What was the character's name?
Michelle. No.
Michelle.
Yes, I was like
Michelle.
Mary Kate and Ash. I don't know.
You got it, dude.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's all I remember
That
from that
same.
show.
Little baby Michelle.
I didn't have a nickname. No, John Boy or something like that.
Yeah.
Nothing like just John
Johnny.
things.
Yeah, just things wrapped around
yeah,
my name.
John.
I ever call you Johnny or
Yeah, people call me that like a lot. Like everyone's got. They take the shortest name that's ever been made and they extend it with other extra things.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
That makes
So,
sense.
but then my parents didn't have like, they used to call me Mr. Let's Make a Deal because I always
You bargained?
bargained. Let's go with that.
Mr. Let's make a deal.
Yeah.
That's very cute.
Let's just
Let's
add
go
that
with that
lower
one.
third to John
I know,
right now.
Mr. Let's make a deal.
Let's
There you
make
go.
a deal.
Make a deal.
My whole family called me Nena, which is just like little girl in Spanish.
Oh, that's
Aw,
cute.
that's cute.
Do they still call you that?
My brothers do.
Nena?
My older brother, Luis, does.
Because it sounds like they're saying Nana.
Kind of.
Which
Like
is
a
kind
banana?
of the opposite of little girl.
N-E-N-A.
Okay, so it is Nana.
No.
Last Halloween costume.
Oh.
God.
I literally just posted
I was
a
gonna
picture
say.
of mine today.
I was gonna say, when was Halloween?
Yeah, I know, right? I was Rosie the Riveter. I think that was my last one.
Nice.
We
That
can
one-
do it.
That's a good costume.
Yeah, and Sean was Mr. Clean, which was like, it was my, like, I want to take credit for that.
Yeah.
My favorite costume I've ever put him in. And cutting those eyebrows to like make the white, amazing.
You must not have have done a lot of work for him.
No, because he
already
already
bald.
shaves his head.
Yeah.
Did you have a costume last year, Meryl?
I don't remember.
We had a few.
You had ones on the show.
Oh shit! Yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah.
did that.
I
Did
guess,
you do like 4 weeks of Halloween?
We did. We did like a whole month of Halloween.
and it sucks because this time, our season break is during October. So we don't
I
even
know.
get.
That's a bummer.
Hocus Pocus. That's what we did that. But I'm trying to think if like I actually dressed up on
For
Halloween.
Halloween.
I
Did
feel
you
like
do something at the office? Because you had a little Halloween party here.
I feel like
Yeah,
I
it was like,
wasn't.
what day
maybe
was
I was
the
out of town
31st?
or something. I feel like I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember like specifically.
I know
which
it's
is weird.
almost Halloween again.
Yeah.
I know.
The year
thinking of
before
costumes.
that, I was Dustin from Stranger Things.
Oh,
That was a good one.
he's my favorite.
That's right, I
He's
remember
so
that.
cute.
Yes.
Mine would be Merida.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Because we did a bunch for Always Open, but then I used the green dress and red wig from Hocus Pocus
I love Hocus Pocus.
for Merida, and it actually worked,
It worked
out
out
really
pretty
well.
I was
Cost saving.
sad Keanu.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Oh yeah, you did just post that.
I just
today.
posted that today. Just because I thought it was funny with all the John Wick things that are coming out.
Yep.
I love Keanu.
That's perfect.
What was yours? Did you say?
Rosie
Oh,
the
Rosie the
Riveter.
River. Right.
We can do it.
What was yours, Barbara?
Merida.
I-
Sometimes, listen, hosting is hard.
oh yeah. I don't know what it's like.
Is there such a thing as objective beauty?
As in like a standard? As a universal beauty?
Objective.
beauty.
I
Like
don't
you
think
could
so.
like objectively look at someone and tell that they're beautiful, or like everyone would think this person is beautiful.
That's what I mean. So like
Well,
a
they say
universal
symmetry.
beauty.
Symmetry.
But-
yeah, that's actually a pretty good call.
But I don't think, I still don't think that, because we're, like, is that societally put? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there actually is objective beauty. His name is Chris Evans. So
Oh.
we have found it.
I'd say that like if you could identify certain people within media, just like everyone would think this person
Idris
is
Elba is pretty good
attractive.
one as
Yeah,
well.
Idris Elba, yes,
so
agreed.
attractive.
I would say
Maggie Smith.
in the middle for that.
I love
Dame
Maggie
Maggie
Smith.
Smith?
I love Maggie
Margot
Smith.
Robbie,
Yes.
No, Maggie Smith before
Yes.
Margot Robbie.
Yeah, for sure.
that girl. What's her name? Emily Rajkova. Something?
I don't know who that is.
She was in the
Radajovsky.
Radajkowski, yeah, she was in the Blurred Lines music video
Gone
and
Girl.
Gone Girl.
Yes, yes, yes.
Wait, who was she in Gone Girl?
She's the one who took her titties out.
She was cheating on.
She is Ben Affleck's character's side piece.
Side piece,
That he
yes.
hides
Yeah.
while the investigation's going on because it
Gotcha,
would look bad if he had.
Who's the big heartthrob right now is the kid from To All the Boys I've Loved Before.
Oh, I don't know that. I haven't watched it
I
yet.
haven't watched it yet.
Great.
Oh, I did see the trailer though, and he is.
It's great.
a
He's
cutie
really
patootie.
handsome. He was in the show called The Fosters. He looks a
Oh,
lot like
I
my
watched
Yeah,
that.
the Fosters
Okay.
is great. He looks a lot like my brother though when my brother was younger, so it
Oh,
weirds
it's a
me
little
out.
creepy, yeah.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as objective beauty. That's the answer.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Oh yeah, I think ultimately no.
No.
All right, Well, thanks for playing, guys.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Is that it?
Yeah.
We went through so quickly.
So quickly. We got a lot of questions to get to.
It's true.
We got about 200 different questions from people, so we tried to
We're gonna
pick.
do all 200 right
Are we doing
now.
a lightning round? I'm just
Like-
We tried to pick questions.
That's always good with therapy. Just get through it fast.
No, yes,
you know?
maybe. Why?
Your mom's a problem. Dad's a problem.
You're the problem.
So we tried to pick questions that we saw like as a common thread throughout a couple, so that we could try to answer as many as we could with just a few questions in mind.
Gotcha.
Because if we sat here answering 200 questions, we wouldn't be able to get through them all, unfortunately. But thank you to everyone who submitted. We know it's a hard thing to do to submit something like that. We appreciate you. But before we get to those questions, we have a little question that we wanted to ask you guys to get things started, which is from Spencer B. And Spencer B wants to know, what would be in your panic attack emergency bag if you had one, and why? First of all, have you guys ever had a panic
Oh,
attack?
100%.
Yeah.
No.
You haven't? You have?
Hmm?
And you have?
Oh, all right.
I-
I'm having a panic attack right
I
now.
had a minor one time. And I remember it felt like I was dying and drowning.
That's
the
usually
same-
what people say at the same time.
Yeah. Like you couldn't move, and like you felt like your heart is racing, and that you can't focus on anything in particular, and like you can't talk to anybody. It's just like insane. So
I don't really know what's in like a panic attack bag, because honestly, I don't know of any items that are going to stop you from having the panic attack.
There's things that might
Essential
comfort
oils.
you.
I guess at the best. What did you say, Texas?
Xanax.
Xanax. That's what I'm saying. Other than actual medication
Right.
or something like that, and like people say like breathe it into a bag, although I've never.
There's like things that might comfort you. Like for me, like I like mint tea a lot. Mint tea might be in
Even
there.
the smell of mint, like peppermints, eucalyptus, and stuff, are like, technically, as a therapist, it's like grounding things. Things that
Yeah.
like bring you back, because panic attacks make you feel like you're like drowning, dying, gonna pass out, spacing out,
you're not really connected to
dissociating.
reality.
So anything to like bring you back.
What about anything that you could like, anything that's like tactile?
It can
can
help.
feel?
I mean,
Does
if
that
you
help?
can feel your panic attack coming on, that could help.
That's what comes to mind more, is like things that when I can feel myself having a panic attack, or even just anxiety, to a certain
Yeah.
degree, there's things that can calm me that way. But like in a panic attack, it's like, well, this shit's
There's
just
nothing.
gotta pass.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Yeah. For me, I would put my comforter from home in the bag, because just like wrapping myself up in that comforter makes me feel like, okay, I'm just in my own bed,
safe.
smelling my own house and everything, and just like it's so
Smelling my
nice
own
and
smells.
smelling my own smell, and it's just fluffy
Why
and
is that comforting? It totally is,
know.
but I don't know why.
I'd also
Your
stick
own
Trevor in
scent
there.
is comforting.
Trevor.
Yeah, that's why kids like baby blankets. They don't want their parents to go wash them because they're
Oh.
like, it smells like me.
Oh.
It's comforting.
I got a stuffed bunny that I've had since I was 7,
Yeah.
almost 20 years now, 19 years I've had it. I still sleep with it every night. His name is Roger. He's in
Oh.
great condition. I would stuff him in that fucking bag.
Yeah,
Get
perfect.
in there, Roger.
The stuffed animal becomes the stuffed
I think
Ooh.
animal.
It's like Inception of stuffed animals.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think I would. The only thing I could throw into a bag would be someone big enough to spoon me,
Oh.
because that's what would calm me down.
Calm
is,
you down?
is being little spoon, which is not a very common thing.
Yeah. Like, Riot's
picture-
tall. Does she ever little?
She doesn't fucking big spoon me ever.
Why?
I don't know.
She should. It's
Well,
like
Let her know you like that.
Yeah, I should.
You know, maybe she just doesn't know you like
No, I
that.
know.
Just
You
call
should-
it
you should-
jetpacking.
Jetpacking. Why is it gotta be jetpacking?
But yeah, she's like super tall.
She's taller than me.
Oh,
that
Yeah,
it would-
that's true. Then I guess it
then
would
it's
be.
not jetpack. It's just big spoon.
Yeah.
I
You'd be
I
jetpacking.
jetpack Trevor every now and then. Just go into it. And then I go, "Fart."
Fart on him.
You farted at it.
Propel yourself up.
Man, we had some sticky farts this morning.
No. Oh,
What's
no.
a sticky
Stinky.
fart?
I thought
Okay.
you said sticky. I was like,
That's
that
what I
sounds
heard too, and
messy.
I didn't know what that
And you
was.
fart, it goes,
I had some sticky farts last week.
oh yeah,
I
you
wasn't
did.
on the show.
She had food poisoning.
Dying.
Oh
You had
god,
bad
that's
stuff.
the worst.
It's so bad.
So what else would be in our bags?
Um,
But I mean, like, I'm just thinking of things that comfort me in general, not necessarily that would help in a panic attack.
Yeah.
So like, I'd put like a Disney movie in there. 'Cause that
I put
always
the whole cast of
makes me
Brooklyn
feel better.
Nine-Nine.
That helps.
Oh yes,
I'll
I want
take 'em.
Rosa.
I'll take
Rosa.
Yeah.
I don't think it's any like. It's funny because it's not actual tangible things that really help.
Yeah.
It's like you can put your head below your heart, and that soothes your system.
So
Like
like
your-
putting your
Oh.
head between your legs.
Yep,
You
that
just
would
made me-
totally like calm your system down. It's a
Headphones.
natural.
Headphones with music.
Ah, good idea.
That was a
yes.
big thing because that also separates me from whatever outside stimulus is happening.
Yeah.
And that gets me in that zone. Yeah.
For sure.
Even clapping your hands and focusing on like the feeling as it moves through
Oh,
your
wow.
arms, brings you back. Stomping your feet.
So these are real tips.
Stomper over here.
I know. See,
That's
I was
maybe
doing
that's
it
why
from
you
a
were doing
very
it.
young age.
You're just comforting yourself.
I was.
Comforting.
Need to be grounded.
So
Doing
upset.
self-care.
Do you find like going out of your house helps? Because I think that's like a
Well, not for panic attacks. I think for like anxiety or even like depressing feelings, that I recognize that my house is a place where that just then starts exponentially
Like
growing.
closing
And so that's why, especially on the weekends, I recognize that when I spend too much time in the house, I get sad. So I get myself out of the house. I get sunlight on me. I go to coffee shops and I hear other noises and that kind of thing. I read books elsewhere. So, but I don't know about panic attack.
panic attacks. I feel like I mean, personally, when I experienced it, I didn't want to be around other people
No.
as much
Yeah.
because like I felt like I couldn't
Yeah.
like I felt like I looked weird and I was acting weird, and I didn't. If other people saw me doing that, it would just make me a little more, I don't know, crazy.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
feel
I think that's
uncomfortable.
normal because you don't want to interact. You're like maxed out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not even really present half the time. Your brain pulls the ripcord and you dissociate. You're like, I'm out of here. Wah.
So
Too
we got,
much.
Got mint. Got some good tea.
Stuffed animals.
Trying to think of
Yeah.
stuffed animals.
Actors. Trevor.
Yeah.
Trevor's in that bag.
Yeah, Trevor will help all of you through your panic.
What's Trevor doing in my bag? I don't want Trevor
Get out
in
of
my
there,
bag.
Trevor.
Get out of
He's
there.
very flexible. He just
I
fold
don't
right in.
want him.
Fold right.
All right, well, let's get to our first question.
Okay.
This is from an anonymous male, and he writes, "The issue of body dysmorphia in the fitness community is almost never talked about. In my personal case, I am 6 feet, 215 pounds with 15% body fat. So purely looking at the numbers, I should be happy with the way I look. Yet I cannot stand my body to the point where I wear sweatpants and sweatshirts to lift in 90-degree weather. I feel like body dysmorphia is a highly talked about subject in relation to individuals with eating disorders, but in general, it's thought that fit people cannot experience it. Why do you think this is?"
Because nobody talks about it and people don't understand. Because eating disorders and body dysmorphia are actually very different. And body dysmorphia doesn't actually have anything to do with food. It's just all about how you feel in your body.
Do we want to explain what body dysmorphia is? Because like I didn't know what it was until recently.
Until the question came through, yeah. So body dysmorphia is when you despise or are uncomfortable with, usually it's one or two parts of your body, but it can be like multiple.
Very fixating.
Yeah, so much so that it can take you like hours to leave the house because you're like fixing that last bit, and they can't really engage with people until things feel like right. It's almost closely paired with like OCD in a way where like you can't tell someone else what it means for you to feel good or look good, but you know.
You'll always be pinpointing that one area of yourself.
And it could be so debilitating that it's like hard for you to engage with other people unless you're wearing the exact clothing that makes you feel comfortable or doing the exact thing. Like a lot of YouTubers have talked about, like they can only film themselves and they want to be able to control the lighting and the angle of the camera because they know that's okay, but anything else is like, ooh. And so it's anything with a mental illness, just remember it always has to be debilitating in some way, it has to impair your level of functioning. But eating disorders are different.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, controlling food in a way to cope with a bigger thing.
I know that you've talked openly about having body dysmorphia.
Yeah, I've dealt with it to a less.
Was that correct to you? the way
Yeah,
you
yeah.
said it?
It's. I think I deal with it in a less debilitating way, to a degree that is not as impeding upon my social interactions. As in, it's never like I don't think my body dysmorphic issues have ever impeded me from leaving my house. But it stopped me from doing certain interactions like dating or physical intimacy,
Yep.
or even just any display of my body that's not behind clothes.
Yeah.
So swimming or anything like
Yeah.
that. There's been a couple instances in the past where I have been put in a position where I need to show more of my body for a production we're doing, whether shirt off or even a tank top.
We did a thing where we were
Scariest-
pretending to be naked.
Yeah, scariest things ever. Like we're talking for days prior to that, obsessing over just that happening,
Yeah.
and doing things at home that will clearly not have any effect on my outward appearance, but doing it just because I think I need to do it.
It makes you feel calm.
Yeah, there was this one time that we did a short. The short was never released. It got axed, thankfully, because I was so freaking out about it. But that wasn't why I got axed, but I was thankful because I was freaking out about it. But I stripped down in the scene because I got drunk and I stripped down and everything like that. And so I was told I had to take my shirt off and everything like that, and even pants off, underwear stay on, everything like that.
Yeah.
And so like even just the night before, I was doing everything I could to dehydrate myself and slim down as much as I could. I was taking,
Diuretics.
diuretics and that kind of thing, and sitting in like a super scalding hot bath and stuff like that. And so, yeah, it's something that I obsessed over to an unhealthy degree.
Yeah.
I still went on the shoot, still did it, and still just often how I deal with a lot of any mental issues that I might have. It's often in the end, if I actually am able to follow through, it's just because there's some sort of, I just go fuck it and follow through with
Yeah.
it. But I'm internally screaming the entire time.
Yeah.
It is like, and then afterwards, it's like a whole shutdown. Like John shuts down after that and has to go recuperate because it was taking every ounce of his energy to even just
to show up and do
to
that.
show up and do it.
Yeah,
Do you feel like
totally.
you get it again, like once that production that was happening like gets released, or it's about to get released and
Yeah.
people are going to see
Oh,
it?
like watching that stuff. Like there's like I focus. My dysmorphia is very much focused around my midsection. I have had love handles my entire life, and I've had a little pooch on my stomach my entire life, and it's varied in size and degree and everything like that. And even right now, I'm at like a pretty good body size, and I did really good over the summer with Fit for RTX, and I even reduced body fat percentage, and I'm at a weight that's even below what I could be and everything like that.
Sorry.
And I've gotten compliments, everything like that. But in the morning, when you look your best, usually, don't you wish like morning you was you all day long? It's like you when you're slimmest because you've been like fasting.
Oh, I mean, yeah, but
I would-
otherwise I look
Maybe not your face.
It was funny, right after Meryl had food poisoning, we filmed something the next day, and we were like sitting at the camera, and she goes, I look good.
Yeah, I was like, ooh,
been
I
so
lost 4 pounds. I've been shitting myself for 24 hours straight. I look great.
But yeah, the morning is, I know it's when I feel the best. 'cause,
As far as your fat.
Yeah.
Because your body is settled and you've been fasting and you've even been dehydrating because you haven't been drinking during the night. But even then in the morning when my body looks the best, I still can't help but focus on, even right now, my midsection. I look at nothing but my love handles and I get upset about them still.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Does it have a lot to do with, this guy talks about being in the fitness community and being in good shape, and like he technically in society doesn't have a reason to have bad feelings about his body, but he does, and is that maybe a symptom of like someone who used to be out of shape and like having
I'm sure it could be.
It can be,
bigger?
but I think it's more about like body dysmorphia doesn't care what size you were or are. I think it just is the way we feel about our person as a whole.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think in fitness, especially if you play a professional sport, if you're a jockey, if you're a ballerina, I think if you're doing something that's so focused on how you look, it can really then you become hyper
Yeah,
focused.
it is, because you're being told to focus on it. And that kind of thing.
Exactly.
And to answer the bit there at the end where it was saying like that it's not something that fit people are considered to think that they should be able to feel
Yeah.
that way. I think that also is just a common blanket statement for mental issues, for all the stuff that if you're pretty or if you have a good life or if you're successful or that kind of thing, you're not allowed to be, have body dysmorphia, you're not allowed to have anxiety, you're not allowed to be depressed because
Yeah.
your life is good, so stop it.
Totally.
And so I think that it completely applies to the fitness world, that if you are someone who is fit or if someone who has, good looks to a certain degree, that you're not allowed to have that.
Well, maybe it's also you feel more scrutinized that way. Like
Yeah.
people have, especially being on camera. There have been times when I've been wearing a certain item of clothing, a dress or a shirt that isn't the most flattering to my body, or like maybe the seam is high so it makes it look like I got a bigger stomach. And when going through comments on YouTube or whatever and seeing even just one comment that's just like, is Barbara pregnant? Or,
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Barbara's stomach looks bigger. She's
Yeah.
been drinking a lot of beer lately or something like that. And that
Yeah.
gets to me because I'm
Yeah.
just like, am I gaining weight? Do I look bad on camera?
Right.
Should I sit a different way?
Yeah.
And so you feel almost like, because, like I feel like I'm in good shape, but I feel like if people see that, they feel maybe that they get scrutinized more if
Yeah.
you're on camera
Totally.
or whatever it is.
And I do like just to make a point that mental illness doesn't care what you look like, who you are,
Right.
how fit, unfit, whatever, because it doesn't really matter. If you're wealthy and super fit and beautiful from whatever standard, you could still be depressed. You could still have body dysmorphia. It doesn't really matter.
And what you're talking about is the reason why I've made a lot of changes in how I interact with the internet, because I recognize
Yeah.
that I am triggered by certain things, and that certain things make me feel ways that I should not feel. So I don't read comments on any videos I'm in. That's a rule that I try to follow. I break it every once in a while, and I am reminded why I should not do
Yeah.
this. I even most recently got Twitter off my phone because Twitter was not making me happy, and it was triggering a lot of depression issues I was having, and it was making me feel a lot more anxious about things that were just fictitious. And so I got rid of that. And so it's, while I'm so happy to do the stuff we get to do here, I recognize what is my healthy, actions that I should take, and I've been trying to apply those. Yeah,
That's
thank you.
amazing because it can be hard to disconnect, but it can be also really devastating to how we feel.
Yeah, 1,000 positive comments and one person calling out the thing that you already scrutinized by yourself
Yeah.
is that person has a megaphone, everyone else is on a whisper.
Well, those are the ones you hear, are the ones that you already believe to be true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For however false they are.
You just go, I knew it.
Yep.
I knew it. I knew it all along. I was saying it.
I already told myself that
Yes.
a million times. Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy, he understands.
Yeah.
He gets it. Dick Butt number 69, he gets it.
I love that name.
He's my inner monologue. Dick butt.
Dick butt.
All right, the second question is from Rose. And Rose asks, hi, I've been struggling with a minor self-diagnosed eating disorder since I was about 13. I'm 21 now, and I thought I had gotten better, but I seem to relapse every now and then again, but I don't know why. So my question is, do relapses have to have a trigger, or can it just happen for no reason?
Everybody's different, so it's hard to say. Like, I believe they always do have a trigger, but we might not be aware of what it is. Could be stress-induced, could be also because it's like self-diagnosed, which I'm guessing means she hasn't gotten help, which if you're out there and you're thinking that you have an eating disorder of any kind, you should get help, because the sooner we get help, the better. But, I mean, and I don't like to call them high grade, low grade, it's just eating disorder is an eating disorder. But I think that definitely it doesn't have to have a trigger, but most of the time it does, we're just not really aware. I know that's like such a therapist thing to say.
I
but
think it's almost like laws of physics that like there's a reaction that comes, and so a trigger is going to be
Yeah.
there, even to a certain degree, even if it's just a change in your body's chemistry.
Yeah.
And that chemistry then can affect how your brain thinks, and that maybe it's not an external trigger, but something could be triggering it. And yeah, it doesn't come just from nowhere, it comes from something.
What are, I guess if you had to qualify them, what would you say are like the typical triggers for relapses of especially eating disorders?
stress.
Stress?
I mean, stress or any other because they don't usually happen in vacuum. So eating disorders happen with like an anxiety component or depression component or something like that. If those things get exacerbated, then the symptoms will come back full force. And stress is like the number one. When my patients have been like, let's say recovered, they've been working on the recovery, doing really well, and then like a year later they're applying to grad school or college, and they're like, shit, I hope I get in. Boom, they'll have like the thoughts back. It doesn't mean they're going to relapse, but the thoughts will come back.
Yeah,
it-
kind of like a change in equilibrium.
Exactly.
Your equilibrium is often what can help you, maintain healthy choices
Yeah.
Yeah.
and continuing healthy patterns of stuff. And when your equilibrium changes from an outside, variable, then that can totally happen.
And eating disorders are coping skills. I think that's kind of important to recognize, because that's why stress or changes make it harder, and we have to have healthy ones to replace the negative one, and it's going to take like 5 healthy things before the negative one
Right.
kind of loses its oomph.
I've also heard a lot of eating disorders could be related to people losing control in one sense of their life and just wanting control over something, and usually that
It's
translates
yourself.
into, yourself and what you eat, and like being able to just have very strict control over that.
Totally. And I think it's kind of like and I always that's not everybody's experience, but yes, a lot of people it is a control thing, because imagine if you're growing up in like your family's so chaotic, and your dad maybe is an alcoholic, or your oldest brother is like always getting in fistfights with your dad, or who knows, right? Like everything just feels completely out of control, and you do your best to keep your own shit together. That usually turns into something about yourself, which could be if you don't have any healthy coping skills in place, so you can't like talk to a friend or another family member or go for a walk. You're like, well, what do I do? Okay, I'm going to control the way I eat or the way I look, or I'm going to use drugs or alcohol to numb out, or I'm going to self-injure, anything like that.
Do you guys have, this is maybe a more personal question, but a friend or someone in your life who has had experience with eating disorders?
Yeah, my girlfriend. Riot has an eating disorder that she attributes to. A lot of it comes from, she spent a lot of time in the modeling industry, and that industry, no matter what, if you've ever seen my girlfriend, she is the pinnacle of beauty in my eyes, and just this tall, slim, slender, beautiful creature that was told, you're not skinny enough, do not get
years,
abs.
probably, right?
Yeah. All kinds of things like scrutiny that was given to her, and she was surrounded by, and that was something that either was the reason why the eating disorder came or exacerbated something that was already there. And so she continues to deal with it. She, she eats a meal sometimes. She has to like take a nap afterwards because it took so much energy for her to eat.
To
that
stay
she then,
focused.
She has to recuperate and that kind of thing. So
It
yeah.
seems like though, and I could be reading it wrong, but it seems for the most part that she wants to get better and she wants to be eating and she
Yeah.
wants to make an effort.
Yeah, and that's why I feel fine talking about this because she's very vocal about it.
Yeah.
She talks about it online. She talks about it in her social media. She'll talk to anybody who wants to bring it up in a conversation because she's not someone who very much shies away from the stigma of like we shouldn't talk about any disorders we have or issues we have, and that's not something you should do. And so yeah, she'll talk about that kind of thing. But
Which is awesome because the more we keep them a secret, the bigger they grow. You know.
Or also that if people start feeling like this is something that's not common and they have to not talk about it publicly and like keep it to themselves because they're going to feel like they're going to be weird or outcast if they
Yeah.
open up about some type of mental health issue or eating disorder.
that's a big reason why I have been as open as I feel I should be about anything that I deal with, including body dysmorphia or anything of like anxiety problems I have, and that's because I get messages back every single time of people saying, "Wow, I thought I was the only person doing this," or "Wow, that normalized this a whole lot more for me." And I'm like, well, if I can do it just to one person each time I post that, it's worth it.
Yeah, that's
You
the
know?
great thing about the internet. Oh.
Yeah. I feel like also growing up in the age of Instagram has also not been very helpful. I know for me, I've had to unfollow, I used to follow Instagram models or people who are like fashion bloggers or whatever it is because they post, of course, these beautiful edited photos of themselves on the beach or whatever it is, working out. And you're just like, why? Like, how do they look like that?
Yeah.
Why don't I look like that? And it's such
Well,
a
they don't.
weird.
They edit.
Yes, which you tend to forget about when you're just scrolling
Totally.
through. And I don't know if that could be a bad trigger for people as well,
It can be.
social media in general.
Probably,
Yeah. I mean, garbage in, garbage out.
It made me feel certain ways because of what I read, so I can totally understand a visual trigger being the exact same thing. Stuff like that triggers me in certain ways to encourage me to do certain things. Like that's why I follow certain fitness stuff or certain people because they encourage me to go and maintain my fitness schedule I've been doing. But that's because that's my story and that's my way of what I deal with. I can totally understand like if you saw, somebody who you envy and you're like, oh, I need to go, do my thing, either go vomit or just stop eating for a day or in that kind of thing. I can totally understand that.
I think also what I struggle with is whenever I have a friend or someone I know struggling with an eating disorder or even just body image in general, I never know what to say, and I feel like a lot of people falter to, oh, but you're perfect, you look
Oh,
great.
yeah. Don't make any comments about their body. Don't tell them they look good. Their eating disorder is gonna take that information and turn it into like an insult.
Yeah.
Which isn't the person's fault for saying it, but like we're doing our best,
Is there something you'd recommend to say?
I think just checking in, being
Yeah.
like, hey, I've noticed you're having a hard time. I'm here, and just being there. Like I think that's like by and large like what we need to do is just be there, because most of them feel really alone and feel really like I think eating disorders and depression are like together always. So it comes with this part of like isolation, feeling like no one understands, and the eating disorder behaviors are very isolating because you usually do them when no one's around because it
Yeah.
can be really embarrassing. There's a lot of shame. So just checking in and being there is like so important.
That's good advice. Well, speaking of support,
Perfect segue.
I gave you that segue. I gave you that segue.
Mariel did. This episode of Always Open is brought to you by Third Love. Third Love makes these bras. They are fantastic. I ordered 3 different kinds. They have stuff with no wires in them, so they're super comfortable. They have stuff with different types of straps, different colors, different fabrics. They got it all, and they also do half cup sizes, which are great.
That's
'cause
amazing.
I am a
That
half cup.
exists?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm like
Well, it
between a
didn't
C
until
and a
Third
D.
Love, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Hey.
between a C and a D, so it's usually it's like C's are too small on me, D's are too big on me, so I could just get C
Know
and
what
a
I
half.
am.
Yeah. CD.
You're about
Barbara.
Third Love designs its bras with breast size and shape in mind so that they fit impeccably and feel even better. They just added 24 new sizes, making them the industry leader with a total of 70 sizes. Third Love is super convenient. Find your fit in 60 seconds online, order, and try it on at home. No more awkward fitting room experiences. Third Love has an awesome Fit Finder quiz You can answer a few simple questions to find the perfect fit. It takes less than a minute, and Third Love helps you identify your breast size and shape and find styles that fit your body. Find cups from A through H and bands up to 48.
Woo woo.
Damn, Third
Is
Love.
H the highest?
Yes. Yeah. But it's weird because AAA is the smallest.
Yeah.
So it goes AAA, AA, and then everything else, like if you're like a double D, it's
I
bigger
didn't
than
even know
a D.
AAA
Yeah.
was a thing.
Yeah.
I think,
it's like training bra-ish.
yeah. It's essentially, yeah.
Which, why do they call that training bra? Like it's in training?
I don't know.
Like what?
They're working out.
They're working
Training
it out.
Training to have boobs or
Yeah,
something.
right?
Hands down, Third Love will be the most comfortable bra you'll own. Tagless straps, tagless labels, straps that won't slip, and ultra soft smoothing fabrics. Third Love knows there's a perfect bra for everyone, so right now they are offering our listeners 15% off your first order. Go to thirdlove.com/always now to find your perfect fitting bra and get 15% off your first purchase. That's thirdlove.com/always for 15% off today. Thank you, Third Love.
All right.
for the
That's
support.
love.
All
Thanks for
right.
the support in many ways.
In many ways.
More ways than one.
Exactly. All right, so let's move on to our next question. This one is submitted by Nina. And Nina writes, I struggle with actually opening up to my therapist. I feel comfortable with her and I think she's great. I just end up on tangents every time. I already have a hard time expressing how I feel about things to people who aren't part of the situation because I feel like they're missing important factors of it. I try to keep a list of things I want to talk about the next time I see her, but by the time that comes around, I'm never as passionate about the issue I wrote down since I'm no longer in that moment. And even if I bring it up, I tend to brush it off fairly quickly because I'm just too far out of the moment to even remember everything about it. Do you have any tips for how I could force myself to be more open in therapy and actually confront my issues with the resources available to me instead of just going on an hour-long rant about politics to my therapist every other week?
I love this question. This happens all the time. It's very common. I think most people show up to therapy and they're either like me, where I call it like verbal diarrhea, where you're like, these are all the things, and then you cry.
Yep.
And then you come out and you're like, that was nice, but I don't know what we talked about. Or you go in and you like forget, your mind like boop, goes blank. Bringing in a list of things is great and not being judgmental about it and feeling like it has to be like what's the most pertinent, because the truth about being a therapist is we're like detectives. So we're like gathering information and like, oh, you were upset about this. That seems awfully similar to when you're upset about that. How can we figure out what the root of it is? Because usually everything that upsets us, even if we're not passionate about it right now, it still tells us something. You know what I mean? And so bringing in that list, and then also the second thing is like talking to your therapist about the fact that you are having trouble talking to her or him. Because I think a lot of people don't know that that's what therapy's for too, because there's a reason that we're feeling like verklempt and we can't say anything, or we like just go on tangents about politics, totally normal. But also, like, when I read this question, I was like, I don't know if, I mean, it sounds like they like their therapist, but I feel like a therapist should also be guiding you a little bit more, and you might need one who's a little more directive.
Yeah.
Like, I'm definitely more of a tough love where I'm like, yeah, you're changing the subject again. And I like won't let you do that.
How many sessions do you, or I guess I don't know if you could put a number on it necessarily, but like, how long do you think someone should stick that through before being like, oh, maybe this is the right match?
Have the conversation with them and let them know you need more directiveness, like, or guiding, I guess is the right word. And then give it like 3 more sessions before you call it quits.
Yeah.
And I can't give like a full, like from beginning to end, but you have to have the conversation. That's the thing people always, we tend to do the same thing we do in life and therapy, which means like, oh, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
I'll just leave. And you're like, no, this is the one place you can be like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
Please do something different.
And I know that, like, if you experience something, let's say you have an argument with your friend or something, and then you want to go talk to someone about it, but you're like, oh, they won't understand because they have to be in the moment. They have to be one of the 2 people in the conversation.
Yeah.
And I could see where she's coming from of just being like, well, like, trying to explain this all and trying to, like, really put that person in the situation is just going to be hard. So, like, never mind. I guess it's not worth talking about.
It's always worth talking about.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about a therapist is we don't know all the stuff. We only know what you tell us, which can be really freeing, because then you can get advice on your own situation versus another friend who will be like, well, you know, she is always like that, and like he can always kind of be a dick, but like you don't need that. You need like, well, it sounds like when people talk about this is upsetting, and where do you think that comes from? Like, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to, I don't know the full situation of this person, so I wouldn't say that I'm passing any sort of specific judgment, but if I had to come to some conclusion, it would be that it sounds like they're avoiding, to a certain extent, the issue. And so when someone says like, how can I do this? It's like, well, you're the one that's actually stopping you. It's that you're giving excuses as to why you're not doing this. So the way you can stop doing this is by not letting yourself make these excuses anymore. The whole like you don't know the situation is a really good excuse to not talk about something, when in reality that often means that I think that that all you want from your therapist, or even just anybody you're having this conversation with, is you want out of them what you already think you need to know.
Yeah.
As opposed to getting an outside perspective, or as opposed to getting to, like, let's say, a professional's perspective on what's going on, which can happen without you giving the guidance of how they should be hearing the story. So regardless of that, you should be talking about these issues with your therapist, and you should be bringing it up even if you don't feel like you're in the moment or that they have all the information they need.
The fact that it hurt her or like was bothersome in that moment says enough. And
Totally.
I think maybe, I don't know if it helps, she mentions that she writes it all down and says that she wants to get to it whenever she gets to therapy. Maybe if she puts a little note like, you must talk about this. Remember how you
Or just
felt.
hand it to your therapist when you first walk into session.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Or ask if you can email, knowing your therapist won't email you back. They shouldn't between sessions, just FYI, because that's too much contact. But hand it to them, whatever, and be like, bring this up in session.
Yeah.
Take it out of your hands.
There's a thing as too much contact.
Oh yeah.
Yes. It's gotta be
Let's get into that.
separation, right?
Yeah, what's
Yeah.
too much contact?
So this is outpatient therapy, meaning you go in for your 1 or twice a week sessions, but your therapist isn't at your beck and call. And you shouldn't be trying to rely on them 24/7, because what that means is we need more care.
Right.
It means that outpatient therapy is not enough for you. And there's no problem with getting more care, but just like so you understand boundaries and parameters around therapy, because the whole goal of therapy is that you don't need it anymore.
Right.
So if you can't go a whole week before trying to reach out to me to let me know something else, then that means that we may need to increase our sessions or you need more care. And we shouldn't waste any time before we do that, because that's like the sign. And if your therapist is always like allowing you to email, text, or whatever and contacting you back, I think that's a breach of boundaries, and it like creates this unhealthy relationship where you're like dependent on them.
Dependency, yeah.
Because you should, it's like fly little bird, you should like try.
Right.
And if you come back, you're like, wow, that was really shitty and I
Yeah.
hated that and I did terrible.
I imagine it could
That's
also
good to
be
know.
like very relieving knowing, like, let's say every Sunday you have your sessions, like
Yeah.
knowing like Sunday's almost here, I could talk about this with them
Totally.
and like get it off my chest, and then like survive another week.
Yep.
And then I know that it's going to be there every Sunday until I start to feel better.
Exactly.
Rather than just like always having them.
Yeah, because it's almost like then you just expect like immediate gratification versus like, no, we talked about those tools. Try the things we talked about and see if those help first.
Yeah.
And it like kind of forces you to try that. And so if a therapist is like encouraging you to do that, I would encourage you to like find somebody else, because I think that's just unhealthy. Because I don't want anybody to have to be in therapy forever.
Yeah.
Like, the goal is self-sustainability.
Exactly. And if you're not given the chance and the opportunity to use the tools, then why are you even learning them?
Do you think it's healthy for someone who may not think that they need therapy to want to try it out just to see if it
Totally.
betters their life?
Everyone should.
Always. 100%.
Yeah. I know that, have you been,
Oh, I go to therapy and then I stop going all the time. It's really fun.
why is that?
Like the last time I started going, I think it was kind of very similar to where I didn't feel like I was being honest, and so I wasn't getting anything out of it.
Yeah.
And so it felt like it like the first like few times was like, okay, this is good, and then I was just kind of like, well, I just feel like I'm showing up, and then just kind of being like, yeah, everything's fine, everything's not as bad as I thought it would be, and then leaving and being like, well, that kind of felt like a waste of time.
Yeah.
So now I am on a journey to find a therapist that I actually like
Connect
mesh
with.
with and like want to see. And not that the person I had before, nothing wrong with
Well,
her.
no therapist is one size fit all, I imagine.
Right.
Totally. And it's most important that you feel connected to them and you like the relationship, because by and large research shows that that's the most important thing, regardless of like what type of therapy they give, or if we like their office, or if it's close, that stuff doesn't matter. It's like, do we feel like we connect with them and they're on our side and they're working with us and we just like them? Like
Right.
that, when you meet people, you're like, I don't really know much about them, but I like them. You should
Yeah.
have that feeling.
Yeah.
Feel like you could talk to them.
Totally.
Be honest with them.
Yeah.
So what would be our advice to Nina of just how to open up more?
I
Say
would
write-
challenge
write
her to
things down.
talk to her therapist about it and to bring in the list either through email or giving it to her therapist, and then see. Because if the therapist still isn't like pushing her towards her goals and like helping her, like challenging her to talk about the hard things little by little, she might want to see somebody else.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
It's good advice. Well, good luck, Nina. I said good luck, Nina.
Good
Nina.
luck.
Good
Good
luck.
luck,
It does
Lena.
get better. Mhm.
Yeah. All right. Next question is from Anonymous. And this is actually a question we get a lot of the time, so I'm happy we're addressing it. What advice would you give to a partner or someone who has a mental illness, other than communication? Because I think that
And communication is number one.
it's, of course, number one, yeah.
But I'd like to put it to number two, and number one is learn about their illness. What is it? And let them teach you, and then also pick up a book about it. I know that sounds really silly, but like a lot of people will be like, oh, I'm in a relationship with someone with borderline personality disorder, and it drives me crazy, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, enough about you. Like, what do you know about their illness? Like, what is it? How does it manifest itself with them? Because then that gives us like a whole set of information that we can figure out how to work with.
Yeah.
And then letting them teach you what it feels like for them is really important. And they should be able to do that. If they can't, that kind of limits like how your relationship is going to go anyway, because they should be able to communicate their issues. Otherwise, that's not a relationship, right?
Yeah. I would say also, and I don't know if this is the right advice or not because I'm not an expert, but don't try to fix their problems.
100%.
Like I've had significant others and friends in the past who've dealt with different types of mental illness, and like sometimes they just want someone to just vent to.
Totally.
And just like complain to, or like just talk to you. And like once that's through, like, because I'm not always good at giving advice or like trying to solve the problem. And they're just like, no, that's good. I just want someone to tell this to.
Just listen.
I just want to get this out.
They want to feel heard, and you don't have to have the answers. I think a lot of people just want, like, the most often I hear from my viewers is if they struggle with depression, or let's say they've been struggling with grief, which is like a form of depression, but when you lose someone, and their friends will be like, I don't even know what to say, and like, so they'll stay away. And they're like, actually, all I really want is for people just like to order food in, come over, and like watch Netflix with me for like 3 hours. I just don't want to be alone. Yeah. And I think that like speaks to volumes for other things, because we don't want anybody to fix anything, because we're not supposed to have the answers. They should
like
see a professional.
Try to stay away because they think that you are sad, or
that's the thing we don't need. We actually need people to like not force us to engage, but just like be there.
I'm here if you need.
And checking in is important too. If you don't live close and you can't come over, like just texting and being like, hey, thinking of you. I'm
just
here.
FaceTime them randomly.
Right, just randomly, whenever you feel like it. FaceTime, totally.
I think also something that's important if you are an SO to someone else with a mental illness is that you also have your own self-care that you have put in place, and a support system for yourself.
Yep.
Because while you want to be a part of the support system for your significant other and you want to be there for them, you then also need to be able to replenish yourself, or else the whole thing will break down as well, because then you won't be there for them and no one will be there for you, and it's just all going to be chaos. So like, obviously there's a balance of selfishness and self-care that one should find, but you should have your own support system that you then can also rely upon.
Even just that open communication, especially if it's your SO, just saying like, hey, I know like you're going through this, but I also want you to just keep in mind like it's also difficult for me. Not trying to blame them or put anything like that on them.
No, but it should be a conversation.
But just so they're aware that like you are there for them and trying to help them, and in that process you also have to look out for yourself and your well-being. Because I think especially in any type of situation where there's a lot of negativity involved, both people could get pulled down by that.
Totally.
Yeah. I did have an SO that had this kind of situation, and they almost manipulated the situation to the point where they would have their mental issue and would need me to help with that, but then didn't give me the opportunity, or let's say the resources, to maintain my own support system. So therefore I was just drained and taxed without ever getting my own replenishment, which then made me not a very good help to them.
Totally.
And so it was just this circle of, I just got fucked, you know? And so, there's definitely like, you need to have a level of even separation that you can in a healthy way, implement with your significant other.
Yeah, totally.
I imagine it's also common to feel, if you do have a SO that, especially with depression, if you feel like you can't make them feel better, that you're failing them as a partner. And that could be a really hard feeling. So what would be your advice for, especially like with depression or anxiety, of someone trying to handle that and not force anything on someone?
Yeah, I think like kind of going like own self-care and your own therapy is important. And then encouraging them to get into therapy too. So if they're not getting help, do everything you can to encourage them to do so, because otherwise it's just so hard. Like then they might only get worse, and then you'll feel even more helpless and hopeless, and you don't want to get pulled down with them. And so you have to have them implementing their own tools. And I'd even argue it should be like a non-negotiable part of the relationship.
Really?
Like
for therapy?
There's no end goal to the situation, but there should be goals in place of everyone moving in a positive direction. I think that's just something generally in life that we should be implementing with ourselves. But with dating someone who has, depression or anxiety or something like that, there's obviously not going to be an end goal of what their situation is, but it should be like, are they in therapy? Okay, the goal should be getting into therapy.
Yeah.
And it's like, how's your therapy going? Is it
Yeah.
going well? Let's work on what's therapy. Like, all these things, there should be forward motion being shown, at least the hope of forward motion.
Totally, because like it doesn't, if they can't get into therapy right away, like even workbooks or like trying out a therapist or, starting the process, like, because I think if it's debilitating enough that it's affecting your relationship, then in order for your relationship to grow and thrive, there needs to be effort on both parts.
On top of that, too, were you about to?
I don't know. I'm just agreeing.
We get this question a lot, and I never know the right way to go about it, is if you're in a relationship, let's say for years, let's say 3 to 5 years or something, and you're with someone who has always experienced some type of mental illness or depression, and they aren't trying to help themselves, you've tried for a long time to encourage them and support them, and they're just not getting better, there's often this guilt associated with feeling like you want to end the relationship and leave the relationship. And that's something like I never know the proper way to go about answering or to give advice on, because
Well, and it's dependent on the person, right?
Yeah.
But like in every relationship, we need to both, like I like to think of relationships as like bank accounts, because you both have to be making deposits in order to be making withdrawals. And that can go for any kind of issue. It doesn't just have to be mental illness based. Like if it's communication, if it's support, if it's compromise, whatever it is, you all have to be making the same, and it's not like you're keeping track, don't do that. But just like, you should be feeling like, oh, well, I'm fine going to this movie even though I don't really like it. Because last time, I remember we went to that theater and he hates the theater, or like whatever, right? You should be able to like recall easily situations where they compromised and then you're fine compromising. So that it's like a give and take. It's like we're making deposits and we're making withdrawals. If you're the only one making deposits and they're only making withdrawals, that's going to lead to it's disaster. It's resentment in the making.
Yeah.
And so the thing that I would encourage people to do if you're in that situation, it's like 3-5 years. I don't believe in like ultimatums, but in your head you have to say to yourself, is this a relationship I want forever?
Right.
Am I happy where I'm at? Because in a relationship we can go through rough periods, but most of the time you should be able to say, am I happy where I'm at? And you'd be like, yeah, for the most part, yeah. Don't lie to yourself. Be honest. Are you happy where you're at? And then if you're not and it's not getting better, I would get out. And it's not, oh, I'm leaving you because of your mental illness. It's, I'm leaving you because you're not in this relationship with me.
Right.
You're in a relationship with yourself.
So I find it's a lot easier just to stick it through and do it for another like 6 years, and then go
That's
through
my method too.
go through a messy divorce that goes into the court and drains all of your savings account.
Oh yeah.
The whole entire time I was thinking, well, compromising in my relationship got me food poisoning.
Oh
She
yeah.
chose a restaurant that I didn't want to go to.
But did she get food?
She
poisoning
also
too?
got food poisoning.
So
You both
It was
withdrew.
a little bit both a
We
withdrawal.
were both withdrawing.
withdrawing
in so
every
many
fluid.
ways.
Pretty often.
I think you
in
guys
your
were
body.
just depositing everywhere is what you were doing.
Oh, you can see it both ways. Yeah. Yep.
Gross.
Gross.
Leaking from both ends.
you were just depositing all over the house.
Poisoning's the worst.
All right. So our last question for this episode is from Sarah. And Sarah asks, do certain mental health issues, such as anxiety and depression, last forever, or can they be cured?
I don't like the word cured.
Me neither.
Because that'd be like, oh, like I have a head cold. Am I gonna be cured? Well, I'll get better, but I can get one again. Like that sucks, but it's true. And like I think depression, anxiety kind of come in the same. Like you can arm yourself with tools so that when those like little inkling suspicions of anxiety or depression start to come back, you're like, oh, I know you. You're in a different dress, but you are the same lady. And you're like,
You just have a fake mustache on this time.
You're wearing a hat. Damn. And so you know it and you can sense it and then you can implement the tools and it will stay for a less amount of time and it'll be less debilitating. So we can get so smart and so well equipped that it can come back, but like not really.
Yeah.
And so I do believe we can get to that point. And medication, even though I know not everybody's into medication, which is totally fine, but it can lessen the symptoms so much so that you might not even get that inkling.
Is there always the worry of dependency, though, on medication? Like, people feel like they need it to be, I don't want to say normal, but feel
Maybe.
normal?
Some people might, and there's nothing wrong with that either. Like, it exists for a reason.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of patients who go on it for like a year and come off, and then I have a lot of patients who've been on it for years and years. If you don't have bad side effects and it helps you make your life happen, go for it.
And you're not
Medicine-
overdosing on anything?
No.
Don't
If
do that?
talk to your doctor, you're totally fine. But I think that if we don't treat things, if we don't get help, if we don't try medication, if that's a part of like our treatment plan, then yes, it will get worse. Yes, it will come back with vengeance. It may peak and wane just because seasonally a lot of people feel worse. Like, you know, winters are particularly terrible for a lot of people, but summers can also be. People have like reverse seasonal affective disorder. So that can happen too, but please get treatment because it does get better. And I believe you can be like quote unquote cured, but it's more just like, I'm smarter than that, and I know how to deal with it.
Knowing how to deal with it when it comes at you.
I know what it feels like for me, and I can make it better.
Because that's always something I've wondered as well. Like if someone deals with anxiety or depression, and let's say they get help and they feel better, is that something that always is lingering inside them that like just could be triggered by something and just pop out?
It could be triggered, but again, it's like if we have the tools to cope,
Yeah.
then it's like, oh, today's just my sad day and that's okay, and then tomorrow I'll get up and I'll be okay.
Yeah. There's no.
Yeah, I think you're comparing it to like the cold is the best way to put it. I mean, there's no like inoculation from not getting sick of anything ever.
Yeah.
You know, and so even though we recuperate from certain things, or maybe we strengthen our bodies in a way that we're not as susceptible to certain ailments, doesn't mean you can't not get sick again. So yeah, that should be the goal, is to bolster yourself up to be able to deal with it in a much better way and to function in a much healthier way. But you know, mistakes are going to happen, and stuff's going to keep coming back.
First time you get a cold, you feel awful, you don't know how to deal with it. And then the second time, you know that like, oh, if I drink this tea and
sleep more.
Sleep more and do this and that, I'll feel better, or like it'll comfort me more. So yeah, just knowing
Totally.
how to handle
Totally.
it.
Yeah, and I think it's like, instead of thinking like I need to cure it or I need to make it go away, it's more like, how can I better manage this?
Yeah.
And then, yeah, you're good to go.
I've also noticed that there are sometimes people who feel more and more comfortable just talking about it too. And I think
Yeah.
at first a lot of people feel maybe embarrassed or ashamed to discuss it, and then like the more they deal with it and meet people who also experience it or go to therapy or whatever it is, they feel like, all right, I could be open about this and not be ashamed of myself.
And that helps. I think being able to talk about it helps also because, like we talked about earlier, like the more things stay hidden, the bigger they get.
Yeah.
And I think the more comfortable, in general, it's like anything in life, if we share that one thing we're really embarrassed about ourselves, or like, yeah, my dad did this and he was such a jerk or whatever, the less big it feels, because people be like, oh yeah, me too. And like we get that like reciprocation because we're not in it alone. I think the more we share and the more we talk about it in general, friends or with a professional, I think the better you'll feel in general.
Yep.
I always liked how Carrie Fisher dealt with it. She's a very vocal person
Yeah.
about her mental issues, and just talked about how it was never something that went away, but it was something that you learned to deal with better and better and better, and it was just with you always. But you know, doesn't mean that stopped her from living the full life that she lived.
No, she was a huge advocate. It was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and finding, I guess, those people too within social media or YouTube or whatever it is that talk about these things openly.
My community.
Yeah.
you
What,
go.
do you want to
Come
plug
on.
your channel too?
Oh, yeah.
And all your stuff so people know where to find you?
Yeah, my channel is Kati Morton, just my name, like think like the salt/steakhouse. And I talk about all things mental health. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist.
Yeah, so head there if you want to watch some videos and be in the community as well that Kati has. It's a very great resource. And finding other people online who talk about these things openly.
Yeah.
We try to talk about them openly as much as we can. I think a lot of people have commented on how like we talk about having anxiety and depression every now and then on the show, and I think people have that idea that, oh, these people who live these lives or experience
Yeah, we have it together.
this, that we have it together, that we're like, you know, totally fine because
I don't
we
even have it together.
are comfortable on camera.
Yeah.
Just like that's not the case, and you'd
Yeah.
be surprised how many people experience it every single day.
Well, it was interesting. We had a few episodes ago, we had one of the questions was like, how do you cope with being anxious, and like,
Yeah.
how, you know, what tools are you, you know, everyone kind of went around, and I was just like, I don't cope with it. I'm just really struggling
Stuff
right
it
now.
down. Yeah.
And so many people were like, wow, oh, okay. You do that too?
A fair answer. Yeah.
No, totally. And it was funny. Like, funny enough, I have a friend who will remain unnamed because I don't know if she talks about this openly. But she was like, I always thought she didn't like me. Like, she wasn't very friendly at the beginning and really quiet. And she was like, no, I was just having panic attacks.
Yeah.
She's like, just don't know how to deal. So I was just having panic attacks. That's why I was sitting over
So
there.
they just shut off.
And it's, people don't realize that we're all human. We all struggle from time to time.
Yeah.
And the more we talk about it and the more we're honest and open, I think the better everybody will feel.
I wish I could talk about it more publicly to people, but I have anxiety whenever I'm meeting new people.
Oh, so
whether
you're
it's
like, ooh.
like at a convention or like going to an event where I'm gonna meet like people within the industry. Like major anxiety of meeting new people. And so I feel like I could come off as like a bitch because I don't tend to like go out and be like, hi, I'm Barbara, like nice to meet you. I'm just kind of like sitting with people I know, like, and if someone comes over, I'll be like, oh hey,
You're like,
nice to meet
hello,
you.
nice to meet you.
Hi.
Yeah, some of us, even though we're in the public eye, we're not very good at talking.
We're terrible.
We're not very good at dealing with new
The
people.
internet's different. We're good
Yeah.
at talking to a camera.
Yeah,
Hey.
Totally.
And that is it.
yeah.
This camera doesn't have eyes. It can't
It has one eye, Barbara, and it's staring
respond
right
back
at you.
at me. Although there is a person right behind the camera, which doesn't help. All right, well, thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
Thanks, Katie.
Yay.
For making the trek.
Of course, always
Do
happy
we
to.
have any last words for people?
Just suck it up. Everyone stop being so whiny. God damn it.
Imagine
Get out.
that's like the only thing we had on this show.
Yeah.
Everything else.
What's with you losers? Be happy and stop whining. God.
Hey.
That's a title, is quit being a little bitch.
No, just know that we love you. Things get
And
better.
reach out.
Reach
things,
out.
Things can get better. There are people out there who care, who can help, and just, find the person who fits for you.
Yeah, and if you're with someone or there's people around you who don't care, probably not the right people
Yep.
to be surrounding yourself with.
Maybe change your friends.
Don't be friends
do
with
that.
John. That's my advice. Just kidding. You're a great friend.
A good friend. A very good
You're
friend.
good friends.
I good friend.
Good friend.
I do good friend
I
thing.
do good
I
friends.
do good friend.
Hey, seriously, thank you so much for coming back
Of
on.
course.
Katie.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks,
Hoping
Katie.
to get you on more often, maybe
I would
next
love to.
season.
Yes.
Should do at least one per season.
Yeah, let's not wait another 2 years.
Yeah. And thank you guys all so much for watching. If you have any questions for us on the show, you could email us alwaysopen@reach.com. Check out Katie's YouTube channel and all of her stuff online. And also say hi to John and Meryl at some point. They're here too.
Don't worry. Don't bother. I'll be somewhere crying.
We love you. And if you are a first member, come watch our post show. We love
Yeah.
you. Bye. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.